Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to another ink profile. We're working our way through Ink Flight 28, and today we're doing a blue-black ink, which I'm very excited about, and it is Pelikan Edelstein Tanzanite. And just as an overview, we're going through the May 2019 Ink Flight from Ink Journal. So we're going through all these samples, but I have done the last two, olivine and aquamarine, in the past. So we're down to these final three. So here we are on Tanzanite. And this was a really exciting process for me because I don't have a blue-black in bottle form or, as a regular blue-black. So I pay pretty good attention here because I'm in the market for one. So let's put it in the bath test and just see how that does. And then quickly, I wanted to let you know that Pelikan 4001 Brilliant Brown was very typical fountain pen ink, and it washed right out. In fact, I forgot about my scale of how they clean out, and I'm going to start doing that again. I'll write it right on here. It did get an A, which means it was quick and easy to clean out of the pens and didn't give me any problems at all. So I promise to try to be better at remembering that. Oh wow, that looks like it's going to have quite a bit of ink left on it. Okay, so, but we'll let it work because sometimes time makes a difference. And we'll get right into the Rhodia Gold book. Let's see, we'll flip back to our spread, which I always like to do. And here's our Pelikan Edelstein Tanzanite. Fits right in there, and here we are. So right away, I thought that this really made me think of the experience I had with the Kaweco Midnight Blue, because I loved that ink, and I kept wondering, how is it going to compare? So we'll flip back in a minute, but to start with here, this is on Tomoe River paper that's taped in, and it's got some red sheening on it. So that makes it stand out. And then here it is in the broad nib and in the Lamy fine nib. And it was just super smooth to write with. That was the first thing I noticed. I love the shade and everything, but it was super smooth. I felt like it was very flowy. And then it has that dark sheen, or that kind of, well, on my papers it looks red, but it is dark, so on the Tomoe River. So I wrote down, this is a true contender for my pen allowance money, and it is, it really is, but it's got me thinking, and I'll share more about that. I found it lots of places, including Anderson pens, where I kind of liked the idea of getting 3 ml sample for $2, and the 50 ml bottle was $26. But I need to do some more checking because I think I'm overlooking one place that I actually order from a lot, which is Pen Chalet. And I meant to do that, and I forgot to do that before I came on. Okay, I guess because I'm going to forget if I don't, let's flip back to Midnight Blue. And I've got it, I think we can see. Midnight Blue, the Kaweco, which I've already done, is lighter. And by quite a bit, and of course it doesn't have that red sheen. It's just pretty straightforward, or if it does, it's just a little on, very, very subtle. So it's subtle enough that I didn't, pick up on it. So wow, it's like neck and neck with those two. But let's get on and see the rest of the notebooks, because there's a lot more to see here. Here's our little newcomer, the Mormon notebook that was from days ago. And here it is. Now, quite a bit of red sheen came out on this notebook. I'm trying to figure out which side you might be able to see it better on. But here it is. I've got it in the broad nib right down to here. And then, of course, I just used a paintbrush. And then here it is in the Lamy fine nib. And I'm drawing smiley faces. I know I really liked it a lot on this. It did not bleed through this paper. This paper is really good. And it turns out that it's the same paper we used in the other little notebook that we had. So that kind of explains that mystery to me. Okay, and then next is CVS Caliber 4x6. It's a little notebook, very economical as well. And it did good on here, but I noticed it lightens a little, and that happens quite a bit on this CVS paper. But I still I like the flow still. So it didn't affect that, but it does appear lighter on here. And a lot of times it'll do that on Tomoe River paper too. So that's not really, you know, a criticism of the paper so much. So we've got some red sheen, but not as much as on the Tomoe River paper. Let's see how it did as far as, it didn't go through at all on that. Okay, and then hopping into the Leuchtturm, this is the little small Leuchtturm, like a pocket size almost, the 1917 dot grid. Oh wow, it was really nice on here, and it makes its best appearance as far as that nice shade. You know, it looks nice and saturated. It stays like that even on the fine nib. I've been doing these little things here just to show the fine nib and the broad nib, and doing the squares to see if it would bleed through, but it didn't. So that was nice. So I think bullet journal wise, I'd be happy with this ink. Okay, and then just moving right along to Live Notes, which is Tomoe River paper, little notebook. Oh dear, I've gotten something on there, by Pen Gallery. It is the 68 GSM. Let's see how it did on there. Okay, we got to put up with a little bleed through from the other Pelikan ink. But there it is, and I thought it looked nice, quite nice on there. Let's see whether it bled through. I can't remember. No, it didn't bleed through even when you painted that little sample on there. It just, you know, it has a nice saturation. It has really good flow. That's what I was finding very consistently, even on some of the papers that we don't always see that. So I was very, very pleased. Okay, now I've got to keep, oh, I usually keep that handy. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, let's keep that handy while we look at Tomoe River 52 gram white paper. And there's that red sheen. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's there. And it stayed so nice on this paper. But keep in mind, this is my favorite paper. So I'm a little biased when it comes to the 52 weight paper. I really like it. It didn't go through. The other two did, but this one didn't. That was interesting. Very interesting to me. I like that because I could paint if I wanted to and make art journal type entries in addition to the writing. But very happy. I put wow, so I must have been impressed. Let's see how it compared. I know it's awkward and a little difficult to do, and we're looking at apples and oranges in a way because this is white and this is kind of ivory or cream. But I liked it on both papers. There was no hesitation. It flowed really well on both, and you know, it just appears darker, I guess, on this white, but that would make sense to me. So you can't really worry about that. I just would say it passes, you know, with flying colors on both papers. So that's really nice. Now, I wanted to compare Kaweco Midnight Blue, since that's something that I was doing. Just, we'll go ahead and try to ignore that bottom one. That royal blue might get in the way, so I'm going to fold it. So here on the bottom is Kaweco Midnight Blue. And this is an ink that I have already reviewed, and I went crazy over it. I wrote with it a lot in many different places, many different notebooks, and I used the sample down to just barely enough to put on our panel for today. And I'm surprised I hadn't washed it out, but it had just enough. And then, see, this is today's Pelikan Edelstein Tanzanite. And we are dealing with a darker ink with the Tanzanite. But I'm still, I like them both. But I'm still really remembering that experience of that Kaweco Midnight Blue in the Kaweco Perkio. And when you find a ink paper and pen combo that lights you up that much, you know, I'm thinking that Kaweco Midnight Blue is in my future, but we'll see. Okay, so enough about me. Let's talk about Clairefontaine 90 gram French ruled paper. Very nice. Not a bit dry on this paper, and I was happy with that. So, you know, I could go from paper to paper with this ink, which is something that I found to be true with the Tasha inks too. No bleed through whatsoever. Nice. And let's just jump on to Rhodia Dot Pad 80 gram white paper. I'm always really pleased, it seems like, with these. I don't say much about it because this Rhodia 80-gram paper, it performs really well. And I like how all the inks look on the white and no bleed through. So, you know, I actually have started to cut some of my paper and use it in an A5 size for letters. And so that's been really nice. You know, it just gets along so well with just about everything. Okay, this is the last paper sample. This is Georgia Pacific copy paper. And, you know, I can't help it. It definitely feathers some on this paper, but this is very cheap copy paper. And then you have a much better experience with the Lamy fine nib because it's drier. But, you know, you can even see red sheen, at least with your eyes you can see it. I don't know if you can pick it up with the camera. And very little bleed through. So that's interesting. That's very consistent. You see, the first two did bleed through more than this Pelikan Edelstein did. So that's very interesting, the Tanzanite. Okay, so there we are. Now, let's, oh, I wondered about this. Okay, so we're looking at ink that is very resistant to the water. That's interesting. I'm really surprised that it's that strong. That's amazing. Missed something along the way there. Okay. So let's get our comparison panel out. Today I've got a new one. In other words, exclusive for this profile. And I put Pelikan Edelstein Tanzanite right in the middle. And this was fun because this was a combination of, you know, what I have in-house and what I really wanted to see beside it, because I really have been tempted by a couple of inks. Two of the blue-black inks that I've been tempted by, one is the Tasha Ayaguro, or blue-black, and then the other one is the Kaveco Midnight Blue. But having them side by side, it gave me a chance to really see, you know, the differences and the similarities. So I was, you know, I felt like we were looking at a little more complexity, a little more purple with the Kaveco. So that was interesting. And then there's just some really nice inks on here, like the Aurora Blue Black. That, I loved that. I remember how much I really loved that sample. And it's nearly gone, but I do retain a lot of samples when they even are down into that very final little triangle piece. And the reason I do that is for these profiles, because I can get enough to still, you know, make a panel, make a comparison for us. So I remember that many people mentioned that Aurora Blue Black was possibly too wet of an ink. And I didn't feel that way, but then you have to keep in mind that I love really, really runny inks, I guess, you know. I just like them to just, you know, hose right out of the nib, I suppose. And I will admit that I think Aurora is a lot wetter of an ink than even the Tasha, which is very, very flowy. So anyway, I've got too much to say, I guess, on this. This, and the Noodler's 54th Mass looked funny on here. I didn't know, but what we were dealing with some humidity and troubles there, because it looked darker on another panel, so just keep that in mind. And then I thought Pilot Iroshizuku Shinkai was a really close kind of a comparison. It really looks similar. There's some red sheening, let's see, in fact maybe even a little bit more red sheening on that one. And then gosh, there's just so many to choose from, really, and I don't have them all. In fact, a pen friend had written to me with another blue-black. Oh, I was going to try to remember. I couldn't show the letter because that would just, you know, not be right. But it was beautiful. Oh, maybe it'll come to me before the end of this, because it's someone I'm late in writing back to because of my trip. Okay, Fountain Pen Revolution blue-black is beautiful. And then here's the Nemesine Palladies blue-black, and even Birmingham has that Grandview Avenue Midnight Horizon. That's pretty. Oh mercy, there's just so many good ones to choose from. But I want you to know, just for your, you know, just out of, if you're curious, that I'm still really favoring Kaveco Midnight Blue. And that kind of surprises me as much as I like this one and the Tasha and the Aurora, and they're darker. But it's what's coming through in the nib, and that's where I wrote with that Kaweco Midnight Blue constantly for a week and a half, and I really, I can't forget that experience. I really liked it. Possibly it was because of the pen, though, that I was using. You know, that particular pen and that ink are probably going to be a forever pair. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so one more thing, which I almost forgot, and oh boy, would I hear about it if I did. The visual journal. Now, Pelikan Edelstein Tanzanite had more complexity than I expected. Actually, I didn't even pause on the chromatography. I'll get that back out in a minute. It really did. It showed a range when you got it mixed with water. It had that really dark midnight blue, and then it had the bright blue coming out, and kind of an in-between, kind of a greenish blue. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't expect it. I actually expected it to kind of flatten the way Brilliant Brown did. Nothing wrong with that, but no, it didn't. It showed a lot of interest in there. So that's something to keep in mind too. Let's get that chromatography out and see if maybe I can slow down a little and show you that. Okay, so I'm doing it different now, and I'm hoping that I can get some consistency. I draw the line on it and hold it in, and that actually should have shown me that we were going to have some permanence there, because that stayed really dark right there, and then it kind of just went up into the clouds, into blue. I'm not sure whether I like this technique better or the round one where I just put a dot. Let me go back to one. Like where I put a dot, that's how they came out. But I was having trouble with leaving it too long, being distracted, I guess. So that was the chromatography. Now I've got a lot to learn in that area, and any tips, I definitely welcome them, because I'm not really sure whether I'm doing it right. I'm just always trying to figure out different ways. Okay, so let's look at what's next. We've got a beauty next. We've got, I may say it wrong. I think I actually had someone help me know how to say it, and I've forgotten again. But it is a Pelikan Edelstein Adventurin. I'm probably saying it wrong. It's just a beautiful green, and we have a lot of green fans on this channel, so I expect that will be, you know, interesting to you. And then next we have kind of a pink, a really bright star ruby, but this will be the next, the green one in the middle, and our last one for this series will be the star ruby, and then I will link you the ones I've already done. So, what did you think of Tanzanite? I really like it. I know there are a lot more blue blacks I haven't even tried yet, but I feel like I have quite a few, and I've had a chance to work with several samples. So I am closing in on getting a bottle of blue black one of these days. No hurry, because of all these samples that I have. All right, so I'll let you go, and thank you very much for being here. Bye for now.